we finished it literally before Kenny walked in the door. Like, I remember his drums were delivered,
Yeah.
and there might have been 5 drum kits or something. And
Yeah.
I'd never seen anyone with such excess,
Yeah.
like instrumentally in my life. And it was
Yeah.
just piled to the ceiling. And he showed up in a whirlwind of Kenny.
Yeah.
And
I remember cutting Get Me Out of Here and being so like, because I've seen him at the LSU Convention Center when I was at Tulane on the Scarecrow tour with Mellencamp and thinking he was the show. I mean,
yeah,
he was such an impactful drummer to see live. And there he is, all of a sudden, time warp, time machine, 4 years later, or 6 years, whatever it is, 6 years later, and he's sitting there drumming to Get Me Out of Here, and I'm watching him through the ISO booth window, and I'm trying to get the scratch track, and I couldn't do it. And finally, he was like, after 4 or 5 takes, he's like, I got this, man. So I just couldn't. I just was like,
and he just played it, and then we played to him.
it from his head, and all of us were like, "Oh my god, it was perfect!" Right? I mean, we were like, "Holy shit, we don't even need to be here, really."
Yeah,
that was something to have him in there and being like, that was the first like brush with rock stars.
yeah, he was a good teacher, man.
Great. His spirit was great to me. He had a great spirit. He was really jocular and had a great like upbeat attitude. He was like, you do a shot with him at the bar at Eddie's and you'd have to do 20 push-ups with him. He was
People live below me, up above me, to the side. And even if I wanted to, I got no place good to hide. Concrete is my color, and COVID, it's my pride. Get me out of here. No one should live like this. Get me out of here. From the subway steamy kiss, take me to the country and dip me in some bliss. Get me out of here, 'cause I can't live like alone along the crowded streets amongst the circus freaks. I saw Jezebel and Clarabelle, and they were begging, Mister, please, you can help me too. I said, I gave them my TV. Get me out of here. No one should live like this. Get me out of here. The subway's steamy kiss, take me to the country and dip me in some bliss. Get me out of here, 'cause I can't live low. My hands will touch and brain as fast as carrying on in fits. I can't carry on in this frenzied state I'm in. Last time that I saw you, you were wearing a disguise. You were hiding from some lawyers who were buzzing gray-head flies. Dried out bloodshot eyes, have you forgotten how to cry? Get me out of here. No one should live like this. Get me out of here. When the subway's steamy kiss, take me to the country and dip me in some bliss. Get me out of here, 'cause I can't live like out of here.
So maybe it was in 92 that we started to do that record. We turned it in and then they sent us over to the UK
Well,
not
Stan,
4 or 5 months
one
later.
sec
Right?
before that, we turned that in. So Jen had it, and then she was
She told us we needed a manager.
simultaneously shopping managers, and she found Bill Leopold, who was
Yeah.
doing Melissa at the time, and so then once he signed, we signed with Bill and Mark Graham, Leopold Management. They said, let's sweeten this up because Melissa had just worked with Hugh Padgham, so he had convinced Atlantic, and he had a whole philosophy about that too. Make them spend money; you'll be more important to them. And we were like, but he was like,
It was
all
the
right,
opposite of our life, right?
exactly 50 grand more to go and sweeten this up in London, which was an amazing experience. But the record really did change because Last American and Sugar Pie, which had become One Chance in a Million, we thought that was going to be on
Hmm.
the first album, and that was part of the original one. And then Hugh said, "What else you got?" Basically, there was a couple songs he commandeered. One of them was Lost and Found in Tinseltown.
Yeah,
He
he
didn't
loved
like
that
one.
song.
Yeah, he didn't like One Chance that as much, and he was like,
Right.
put that one on instead.
And we
And
recut a couple of things too.
yeah, we went over for a week and like recut a lot of parts. I sent my singing on "Get Me Out of Here's" from there.
I think
There's a
all
great
of
story,
halfway home.
about Insomniac, about how we got that, because that was a performance moment at the end of that. We had kind of a hole in the end of the arrangement of that song. If you listen to Words Like Numbers and how that resolves, it doesn't resolve as pointedly as the Atlantic one, right? But we had arranged it for it to be performed that way, but we just hadn't figured it out yet. And I went into the booth and just kind of got lucky with a take, one of those, scat takes that I take, and hit that note. And then he put Emily's on. I was like, whoa, because that song just right then to me like jumped out to like roar, like a roar. It was completely airtight at that point, right?
Yeah.
That's
And
all I
and
saw.
and Hugh, like he's an odd character, but
Yeah,
he really knew what he was doing. And
yeah,
obviously, from his pedigree, obviously knew what he was doing, but at the same time, sometimes those people I now in retrospect, I know that hit producers are only hit producers when they produce hit records. Otherwise they're just another producer.
yeah.
And so it's really hard to even tell someone who's successful if they're good.
Hmm.
Because many times, especially from a producer standpoint, it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
It has to do with the thing that's being created and what vaults that. And he was just so consistently unique as an engineer. Like you
Yeah.
could tell he came from an engineer world, and
Hmm.
Don also came from an engineer world. So for us, it was like putting another person in a place that we had language.
Yeah.
It wasn't asking a guitar player to come in and judge us.
Right.
Like it was something different, and it was just great to listen to him do his thing and watch him do his thing. And
Totally. And I mean, the other part of his thing is the Rolodex, right? He could
yeah,
dial up Guy Pratt and have him come and play the bass parts again. And it's like, whoa. I mean, the intensity of the musicianship of those people, Sting's next door I think we can use a bass. Didn't you use a bass on a song?
it's funny.
Borrowed from him?
Yeah, he brought his bass in. I'm like, hi, Sting. Like wow. And
Yeah.
then we used his guitar player Dominic came in and played on a bunch of stuff, and I remember like my face, like, dude, I've been watching you on stage. Like,
Yeah.
you're Dominic.
Yeah.
There was a.
Where was that? Was that?
It was at the townhouse is where he was working at the time,
Yeah.
and so we were in the basement.
Incredible. And he had the great Mark was his the guy who helped him, and we'd have tea every day. It was like all this. It was such a what? And they flew us to London for 2 weeks. I recall 10 days to 2 weeks to work on it. And we played golf out in the, I mean, it was so interesting to get to know the culture that way, and really during the time at Atlantic, the loveliest memory I've had, because he's a really great guy too, Hugh Padgham. Just a everyday, no airs about him. You go to his little place that he had, his little pub, to have a beer with him, and he was a great conversationalist, was interesting and interested and curious, and just a good guy.
I remember the one time we got invited over to his house for food,
Yeah.
I'll never forget, and I don't ever tire of telling the story, but
Yeah, I love this story.
um, I end up going to the restroom, and his bathroom is full of all of his gold records.
Yeah.
And when you start putting it all together in that moment, because you'd think a guy like that, it would be everywhere, all over his life, and none of it was. Like his house, you couldn't tell if he was a guy that was a gardener or if he fixed cars, or
Yeah.
you couldn't tell anything.
Yeah.
But in that, once you're in the restroom, you're like, oh my God.
And it wasn't a big giant restroom either. It was like
No, it was a tiny little water closet.
regular size powder room, but it was like packed with all this,
It had Let's Dance that goes all the way, like it had every David Bowie and every like.
It was incredible. And he was like, that's where they belong. That was like,
Mhm.
or that was his attitude. It was like, I'm not going to get too affected by it. And I think also, he also said to us, you know how you judge a good pop song is that you whistle it when you go to the loo.
Yeah, and I still remember that.
Feeling good? How's that trap?
Swat mosquitoes.
Is that working in there?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
Gotta get out of this race, can't run anymore. Stay out of my face, back away from my door. Paid my dues, and I'm still breathing. Come on, have a heart, and call it even. All the troops are gathered round, time to get your courage up. Get your head out of the ground, time to hurt someone you love. It ain't easy, but you got your reasons. Come on, have a heart. Come on, have a heart, and call it even. Where you think it's gonna go, all the bruises where they hit you, it'll all come back in time. Jump right back up and get you. Come on, have a heart. Come on, have a heart. Finish what you start and call it even.
We carried a juicer,
That's right.
and we asked for fresh things for the juicing, and one of them, it was on all the Din Kindles. We had to have ginger
Yeah.
and throat coat tea
Right.
and then something for the juicer. I forget.
Do you realize it's bringing me up? We did a 96 Rock interview, and the guy on before us was the Juice Man. And we almost convinced him to come and open the set at the Cotton Club that night. We said, come on, man, just come do your juice thing. It'll be 500 people. Do your thing, man. And he was always like, oh, we almost had him there.
He was selling the juice pills, I think, is what he was
that's
doing.
right. The juice pill.
As if somehow it was okay to powderize the juice that you'd been juicing and that was going to be as valuable. Insomniac.
Yeah, for sure. Me too.
I'd
It's
say
just
that.
you could get him every time. You leave on. It's always like it's a high note at the end of a show that never disappoints. No matter how bad the show was, if we ended the song with that, it's a good show.
I can see you, I don't even know you, falling into the sheets at night. Place my hand flat on my chest, feel the heartbeat back the night. I've tried counting sheep and I've talked to the shepherd and I played with my pillow forever and ever. I sit alone and I watch the clock. I breathe in on the tick and out on the time. Can hear your bare feet on the kitchen floor, and I don't have to have these dreams no more. And I've found someone just to hold me tight and hold the insomniac all night. Dig my head down deep so I can't hear the cars outside on the street, and the stars are laughing. They get a kick out of my misery. I've tried everything short of Aristotle to Dramamine and the whiskey bottle. Pray for the day when my ship comes in, when I can sleep the sleep of the just again. I can hear your bare feet on the kitchen floor, and I don't have to have these dreams no more. And I've found someone just to hold me tight, hold the insomniac all night. Alright. Hold the insomniac all night. Yeah.
giving a real proper kind of tending to the history of what we did, and trying to, and we talked about this when we met again, like, how do we do this? What would be the best way to do it? And I wanted to surround myself with some people that could help me figure out how that could best work, because I think it's important, because music's great, you know, and I think the more I got into it, the more, especially with the amount of time that we've had in this weird pandemic permission, of what else are you going to do while you sit in your house. And there are things that I didn't have the time to do that I'm now doing, that I feel better, and I'm more creative, and I'm more interested, and it's been a great remembering of who I was when I was doing that, and so it's informing what I'm making now. So the goal for me, I think originally, was to properly honor the creations that we've had, and then as I got into it, I started to see there's a whole nother goal here, which is the truth that when I mix my energy with Andrew, something happens, and that that catalyst I haven't had the experience of since the last time we made stuff up. And we don't just make things up, we make up the entire universe that it goes into. Like, we're those kinds of conversationalists. You know, we want to create it in our minds, and then thoughts become things, and choose the good ones, you know. And as I'm realizing it, where our music is not finished.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's where for me, the goal is put out this music, tell the story of the thing you never knew, because there's no computer to tell you the story, you know. And then lastly, as a beautiful consequence of all of this, or outcome, is create the pavement on the road in a direction that we get to go down together.
Yeah, that's I feel the same way. I concur. I don't have to add much to that. I mean, that will present some challenges for me, that being out of the business and having lumberous carpet hands, but also remembering that I'm musical at my core. So whatever it will be an interesting and combustible mix with where you're at, in as honed a craftsman as you become in music. So that's bound to be interesting. So I'm gonna allow whatever way it is. And we've always been good as a baseline at talking about things and where we're going. We're good conversations. We're good planners together. We're good, there was never much sweat to that. There wasn't much at all. We don't disagree much about that stuff. It's not a contentious, never was contentious relationship, really.
We never even had a fist fight. Like,
no.
We're never those people.
No. I think basically, when I look back at it, it's my own stuff that kept me, and you lose that as you get older. So it's bound to be easier in some ways, and maybe a little harder with the old hands, but the spirit is now kind of recharged. So I'm excited and curious what comes.
No, you wanna be with me, baby, why you say goodbye? No, you wanna be with me, baby, why you say I don't wanna speak, I don't wanna fight, I just want some peace and quiet for